Welcome back to Briggs on Books. Check out this book every other weekend. Hey, a fascinating book, fascinating story. Not only do we have the book here, though, but we also have the author. If I can find him here, there he is. Welcome, Judge Anthony J. Mohr. Welcome, Judge.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's great to be here.
Now, you were a judge. Are you retired from that?
I'm retired, although I still sit part-time. We can do that in California.
Nice, very nice. Now, by the way, your book, and here's the cover again, every other weekend. This talks about your growing up years mostly, doesn't it?
It does indeed.
Can you tell us a little bit of the story?
Well, basically, it's coming of age first with my own father until about the age of 9, when he divorced my mother and married a woman from Sweden. They met when he was working over there for a year on a TV series. He had actually moved the whole family there, so I met her too. Of course, I had no idea they would end up together, which they did. And then it's the second part of the book is one weekend with my dad and his new wife, one weekend with my mother and her new husband.
Wow.
And they were very different people, very different men. So it's really two different cultures as I move through my teens. And the book pretty much ends at the end of high school.
Tell us what your dad did.
He was an actor. He was first on radio and very well known on radio. He played Philip Marlowe. He played something like 400 or 500 radio plays. They called him the Iron Duke because he never flubbed his lines. And then he managed to get into television. He appeared as a feature star on a lot of Westerns. You can almost name the Western, he'd be in it. And then he wanted his own series, but that never happened. And his career really never got back to where it was in radio. But at the same time, Stan, my stepdad, was a very kind of conservative, disciplined businessman. And he had a company that made the imprinters and the embossers for credit cards. So he was in on the beginning of the whole credit card industry, thanks to Bank of America, a guy there named Joe Williams, who was the vice president, who engaged Stan to put together the machinery that made these credit cards usable in the market. So Stan's career was soaring. My father's career was drifting downward slowly.
Now, your stepdad, did he step in and play a fatherly role?
He did. He did. With a very different style from my father. Yeah. Stan was very by the book. The kids have to work. The kids have to learn how to make their way in life. And my father was kind of a bon vivant, nice guy. Lots of women liked him. Whether or not he was married, lots of women liked him and he liked them. Yeah. And he was a very different person.
Now, you look about my age, I'm 65. When I was a kid, there were not a lot of divorces.
No. And I'm, over 10 years older than you.
Okay.
When I was a kid, there were very few divorces. It was scandalous.
Yeah. And so that had to be shocking. Now, did your dad stay in Switzerland? Did he come back? And
no, we came back from Sweden. Once the series was over, and he stayed here. But he always wanted to work half-time in Europe and half-time here. He always wanted to be the international man of mystery and happily work on both sides of the ocean. I've got a letter from him that says that. And he went back a couple of times to try to make pilots for series, but they just didn't work out. And in fact, when he died, it was in Sweden. He had just literally wrapped another pilot called Private Entrance. And I've got the pilot. I've seen it. I don't know if it would have made it to the screen. I really don't. It was interesting, but I'm not sure it would have made it.
Yeah. Now, when I first looked you up, I have a staff who goes out and looks for the most interesting authors they could find. They say, hey, here's a judge who wrote his memoir. And I thought, too boring. We don't want to talk to him about being a judge. But no, it's fascinating. I told you before we came on the air, I'm going to read this book. I'm going to read it very, very soon. So,
well, thank you. Thank you. I was tempted to write a book about judging. And I've read a number of books judges have written. And a lot of them are very plodding and turgid. They really are. I tried a car accident case. I tried a trip and fall at Kmart, whatever. That said, I'd love to write a book about judging, but hopefully spice it up and make it a little more compelling.
Yeah.
But I'm not there yet.
Yeah, and when I first started reading the outlines of your book, I thought it was a novel. It was a made-up story, but it's a real deal, right?
It's the real
Yeah,
deal.
yeah,
It's the real deal,
yeah,
taking place in L.A. and Sherman Oaks
yeah.
and mostly in Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills. Now you got to meet some other famous people.
I met lots of people on the B list where my dad was. For example, the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce has an annual Christmas parade, and we were in it. And so I rode in the car with my father a couple of times. And then there's a parade party actually a car garage on Hollywood Boulevard. And you begin there and you end there once you've gone down the line of march. And I met all sorts of people: Soupy Sales, Jimmy Dodd, Shelley Fabre, who I had a crush on, Buster Keaton. I met him there. Brod Crawford, who was a good buddy of my dad's. I've got an incident about Crawford in the book. I met Evelyn Rudy, who I also had a crush on. What can I tell you? It was a lot of fun,
Yeah,
and they were all very nice people. I don't remember anybody being a jerk. They
yeah,
were
that's
lovely,
nice.
lovely people.
That's good to hear. That's good
Yeah.
to hear. Now, let me ask you this about your book. By the way, I'll put the cover up again every other weekend. Coming of age with two different dads.
Right.
What formats are the book? I saw it on hardcover, certainly paperback,
Cover, paperback, and Kindle.
Kindle. Any thoughts of an audiobook?
I've thought about it. I haven't done it yet. What do you think? Should I or shouldn't I?
Us older people, it's getting harder and harder to read those words on the page. So I love audiobooks. So
I guess. And a couple of my friends have said, if you do an audio, I'll read the book. I'm lucky. My eyesight is good. I can read without
great.
glasses.
That's
I use glasses for distance, but that's it.
Yeah.
So I really haven't seen the need. But yeah, maybe I'll sit down and bite the bullet
Yeah.
and do an audio.
I recommend you using your voice. You've got a great voice too. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Now, I guess things, we don't want you to tell the whole story, but things must have turned out. You got through law school, you became a judge.
I was lucky. I was lucky. Look, both of the fathers had their faults, and lots of them, and I wrote about that in the book. But my father, as one reviewer said, a lady who wrote a review in Hippocampus magazine, which is a great literary journal. It's all about memoir, and it's worth reading online. And she wrote, "If it weren't for my father, I probably never would have written the book. If it weren't for my stepfather, I never would have become a judge."
Mm.
And with both of them together, I kind of learned one way or another to navigate two different cultures. And it really was two different cultures.
Yeah.
In many ways, it was like spending one weekend in Serbia and the other weekend in Ghana or someplace like that. Just two very different attitudes and cultures. My mother, initially, I was not going to write about her, but she kept coming into the book and finding her way into every chapter, almost every chapter, and then I began to realize she was the person who ran interference with me, the glue that kept me going. In many ways, she rescued me. So my mother really helped out and was indispensable, and I still miss her. She died, 30 years ago, the day I became a judge, actually.
Wow. Oh, my goodness.
Still miss her a lot.
Now, we have your web address on the screen. What will our viewers, if they go to your webpage, what are they going to find there?
Oh, they'll see, of course, a picture of the cover.
Yeah.
They'll see some blurbs. A number of people I got in touch with were happy to blurb the book, so you'll see all of those. There are links to other essays I've written, which have come out in other literary magazines. The ones that came out in print magazines, I don't have links to because they don't link. But the ones from the online journals are there, and
That's nice.
I would encourage anybody to read them. They're essays that didn't make it into the book.
Now, we have your web address on the screen, Anthony J. Mohr, MOHR.com. And
Correct.
for our viewers, I'll give you a hint. If you're looking up Anthony, put the J in there. You find him much easier. Amazon is Anthony J. Mohr and different things like that. By the way, I went to Amazon. Book's so easy to find. Kindle, it says it's on Kindle. That popped right up. And by the way, who's going to read this book?
If somebody is interested in parenting and divorce, it's a case study. If somebody's interested in old Hollywood, from the late 50s through the early 60s, that's the background of the book. It's set there. And I'm trying to give it a sense of place.
Yeah.
So I would say read the book. You're not going to read about the A-list people because I didn't know them. Many of them, by the way, had children in school with me, but I wasn't that aware of who they were, nor were other people. And the fact that Danny Kaye's daughter was there, so what? Dina was a nice girl, but we all didn't think, oh, there's Danny Kaye's daughter.
Yeah.
The same for Lee J. Cobb's daughter or Joey Bishop's kid. They were just good kids that we knew around the school. Julie Cobb became, I think, our basketball homecoming princess. But that was on her own merits, not on who Lee J. Cobb was. But you'll see a lot of references, again, to the B-list, to people who were, not in the background, but certainly not the ones picking up the Academy Awards. Yeah. So you'll see that. And it's a baby boomer book.
Yeah. Anybody likes to read about that period, which I do, I'm surely will enjoy this book. And if anybody go to Amazon or go to Judge Mohr's website, and they have these little blurbs on the book. Once you read that, you're going to be hooked on needing and wanting to read it because it got me very quickly. So whoever's preparing that, probably you, because you're the writer, it's a good little blurb about what the book's about. Judge Mohr, Anthony J. Mohr. We're out of time. We've gone over time. They're signaling me. Any last thoughts you'd like to share with our viewers about anything?
Well, again, thanks for having me on. I will tell you I enjoyed writing the book. There were times when it was very painful to write the book because I didn't spare a number of, sad experiences. But there were times I really had fun writing it because I wrote about some lovely times I had with my stepbrother, stepsister, stepfather, real father. And it was wonderful mining all those memories and getting them onto the page as best I could.
That's great. That's fun. You got another book in you, Judge?
I don't know. As I said, I've thought about writing maybe about what it's like to be a judge, but I want it to be different from the ones that, it's not just one trial, one trial, one trial. It's other things that go on. Yeah. And I've also thought about maybe another book lighting up the community where I came of age, but turning the lens away from the family. I've thought about that, but stay tuned because I'm not quite sure where the next one will come from.
All right, our guest is Anthony J. Mohr. Just go to his website, anthonyjmohr.com. What an easy website. What a creative web address you have. And go to Amazon. Wherever you buy books, you'll find the book. And thank you, Judge, for coming on the show.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. You take care.
And for our viewers, don't go anywhere because we'll be back with another author right after this.